Mr. Brewer is doing a little plant testing in his basement. Nothing to worry about. Harmless, really. But Margaret and Casey Brewer are worried about their father, especially when they meet some of the plants he's growing down there. Then they notice that their father is developing plant-like tendencies. In fact, he is becoming distinctly weedy and seedy.
Before we go any further, I wanted to credit Tree for the amazing narration of the synopsis of the book Stay Out of the Basement from R.L. Stine's Goosebumps. Now let's continue to the review. Hello people, it's me, Jaconator45 from the TJB channel, and today we are going to continue my Goosebumps review. We are warned with book number 2 to stay out of the basement. For those of you who don't know, I started the main series on my channel, so you can go find it there. And now let's continue to the review. This story is just basically kids going down to the basement, then coming back up and coming it down, just that repeated. While at the same time, each learning something new. And then there's also the really creepy twist ending. So why don't we introduce the characters first? There is 2 protagonists, Margaret and Casey, which are both brother and sister. And unlike future books, these 2 actually don't have a problem with each other. I mean, sure, they do have a little bit of rivalry, but it turns out that they both work together really well in this book. Second, there's also the dad, which got fired from his old science lab, so he's forced to work down in the basement, which is an unpleasant place to work at, if you ask me. For our final main character, which is the antagonist of the story, we have a plant decoy of the real dad, which was created with human blood, as the real dad wanted to experiment to see what would happen. And now we have some side characters. There is this one guy who was in charge of the old lab, then we're going to call him Mr. Morbider. You'll see why that's important in a later book. And then there's also the mom, who basically left and is home alone and leaves their kids home alone with the father, which is secretly a plant. Now let's talk about the climax of the book. At first, the father has some physical changes, like leaves growing on top of his head, him eating plant food and water, and when he cuts his arm, green blood is spilling out instead of the typical red, which is pretty disgusting if you ask me. And then there is also the breathing, creepy plants down there in the basement, which are just there to be scary and experimented with. And then the kids soon find out that the real dad was actually tied up, which at first thought was the plant decoy. Now let's talk about the ending of the story. And in both the TV episode and the book, it is super different. Let's start with the TV episode because it's a little tamer. In the TV episode, the 2 dads are duking it out with arguments to support their claims that they are actually the real dad. When suddenly the real dad says a word, princess, which the real dad used to call Margaret all the time. Because of this, she uses the leaf plant on the plant killer on the plant, the one that didn't call her princess, and they live happily ever after. Well, besides for the twist. After planting some small flowers in their yard, they all yell, "Margaret, I am your real father. Margaret, I am your real father," and stuff like that. It's pretty creepy. The book is a little similar. In the end of the climax, Margaret grabs a small kitchen knife and cuts the real dad's shoulder, and red blood is dripping out instead of the green. So then she finally kills the plant with the knife. Yeah, that's mainly it. The twist is repeated for both books, though. Both the book and the TV episode, that is. So yeah, that's Stay Out of the Basement. I would honestly give this book a 4 out of 5 stars. And the TV episode too. It's mainly out of 4, And that's because the same thing is repeated. They go on down to the basement, then they climb back up, then they go down, back up, same thing, same thing. However, it gets scarier each time they go down, so that's a plus. Well, join me next time when we review Monster Blood. See you guys!